This video was digitized from a reel of 35 millimeter slides that I obtained from a Coast Guard crew member aboard the Coast Guard cutter Iris, WLB-395, and she was a buoy tender home ported out of Galveston, Texas. And what you're looking at is the fire and sinking of the Gulfstag, the tanker Gulfstag, in the Gulf of Mexico on the 24th and 25th of October, 1966. And that vessel right there is the Coast Guard cutter Point Lookout, WPB-82341, and she was out of Morgan City, Louisiana. And there was a really good article on this from the Daily World out of Opelousas, Louisiana, dated Tuesday, October 25th, 1966. And I was going to go ahead and just read that article to you here because it describes everything you're looking at. And it starts off, the stricken tanker Gulfstag was awash from the stern to the midship pilot house today as virtually all hope was abandoned for the 7 crewmen still missing. The Coast Guard and the ship's master, Captain L.L. LaRue, agreed the men were probably trapped in the section now underwater. The Coast Guard cutter Iris, out of Galveston, Texas, reported the ship's cargo of gasoline appeared to be feeding the fire still raging aboard the vessel. The negative results of the Coast Guard helicopter search over a 100 square mile area Monday indicated the 7 crewmen were trapped below deck. The search was conducted under ideal conditions and almost perfect visibility. And you can see in these slides that the seas are very calm. And standing by with the cutter Iris was the salvage tug Titan. Explosions in the 572-foot tanker's engine and pump room set off the inferno before dawn on Monday. 7 members of the crew were missing. 33 crewmen escaped and were picked up by other tankers in the vicinity. 3 of the survivors were burned and were airlifted to shore for treatment. The U.S. Coast Guard cutter Point Lookout, with tanker Captain L.L. LaRue of Port Arthur, Texas, and 2 of his officers aboard, stood by the burning hulk during the night. The skipper said he believed all the missing men were trapped in their staterooms by the fire. He said only one was on deck when the ship was abandoned, and he was the last seen going below. The Gulfstag left Port Arthur, Texas, Sunday with 163,000 gallons of premium gasoline and other cargo bound for Tampa, Florida. The explosion occurred 60 miles southwest of Morgan City, Louisiana. 23 of the survivors were expected to arrive in New Orleans today aboard the tanker Atlantic Prestige, and 4 were en route to Port Arthur, Texas, on the tanker Western Sun. One of the injured men, Paul F. Berry, 49, of Port Arthur, Texas, said from his New Orleans hospital bed, most of the crew was asleep at the time of the 2 explosions. Quoting, at first I was asleep. When it first blew, I was going to take a look. Then the second blast knocked me down. It was all fire, just like that. We didn't have time to put on clothes, life jackets, or nothing else, said Barry. The seaman said he had wrapped himself in a blanket and run through a fire-filled passageway to escape to the upper deck. And there in the background of this slide, you can see the salvage tug Titan there about amidships, just to the left of the smoke and flames. And getting back to the article, the other injured are Milton Guthrie and Jesse E. Jeffries, both of Port Arthur, Texas. The missing men were identified as Richard Belcom of Gloucester, Massachusetts, Joseph Zizor and Gunnar Taft of Groves, Texas, and Irving Chandler, Paul Stogan, Charles Purnell, and Joseph Thomas, all of Port Arthur, Texas. The tug Titan was en route from Sabine Pass, Texas, to have it try at salvaging the tanker owned by the Gulf Oil Company. The Coast Guard was preparing to mark and map the spot in the event the Gulfstag sank, and the Gulfstag is in about 130 feet deep of water. And you could see it, some of the slides that she did have her anchor chain out, which coincides with some of the newspaper articles that I read on this. It said that she did drop her anchor once she caught on fire and was stricken. And yeah, just a very, very interesting photos here. Tragic event, like I say, of those missing merchant mariners, and you could see the that she's sunk now, and just it's like just a little portion of her bow is above water. And reading newspaper articles on this, they said that they eventually had to semi-refloat her and drag her further out into the ocean and sink her so she wouldn't be a hazard in navigation. But yeah, love to hear your comments on this. I try to upload military and patriotic videos to my channel every other day. And if you're interested in a good read, check out my books at www.edsemler.com.